Zach Manis. What really great to have you back, Zach. You
Good
were,
morning, Dale.
yeah, you were spot on about that there would not be any kind of gentleman's break in the gold market to accommodate bulls. So,
We did get not in gold, but in miners we got a decent little
y-
pullback. It actually
yeah,
shifted kind of what I was looking for in terms of putting us a little bit further ahead on the timeline. Let me
okay.
see if I can share my screen and we'll talk about some stuff.
Are we getting close? I noticed, and I speak to some other Elliotticians that there are a lot of fives here. That the S&Ps are in five, and silver could be a five at 33. So a lot of completions. Even the dollar is in four, waiting for five. Is that theme coming
Um,
through in your work?
not as much. I mean, I certainly think that the equity market is very extended, but it's it tried a couple times to turn down and had
Well,
some
it's got
right.
6,100 in it, and we're in a melt up phase where we get parabolic.
I think so. I want to
Yeah.
get to equities in a bit, but I want to talk about
Okay.
metals first. I'm a
Go ahead.
little bit more bullish. I mean, I'm bullish on both metals, but I like to keep an eye on this ratio chart of gold and silver.
Yeah.
And I think we're trying to turn down
Yeah.
from a couple of lower highs here for a B wave and for a wave two in a bigger retrace in the ratio. So I would really love to
I
see
agree.
us get closer to like a into the 60s and then maybe even a 50 to one ratio for silver to outperform. And
Right.
as I think we've spoken about the ratio chart before when from my perspective when I've been on with you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that gold is going to perform badly, just that silver should outpace whatever moves that the pair usually likes to do together. So um, we can
It's
talk about
another
the
ingredient of the spec phase we're in.
exactly. I mean, I think we're you're if as you're printing money, then people assets that people want to look to be a store of value are going to benefit from that those excess dollar bucks or whatever currency you guys are enjoying trading in and out of those days. But some of those hard assets are going to be, and even Bitcoin maybe as well, are going to benefit from that. So off of the June lows in gold and silver, well, silver actually counts the B wave in a different spot, but inside a larger three of a diagonal, looking for more of this C wave up. So I have gold likely heading towards the 2850 to 2900 region for the rest of that third wave. And then because it's a diagonal, I think this is probably a cleaner chart to look at in terms of the larger degree, even though it has the um, PSAR and iCloud. But because it's a diagonal, well, gotta push that up. This got adjusted for the back adjustment. I didn't move this guy up closer to 2850 to 2900. But because it's a diagonal, we should expect to see a larger drop than normal in that wave four. But it doesn't necessarily have to overlap with the top of wave one. That's something that Garrett and I have observed many times that a fourth wave can be deeper in a diagonal than a traditional fourth of an impulse, but it doesn't have to overlap. It is allowed to. So that's kind of the picture that we're looking at on gold, continuing to probably chop up more because this is further along in an ending diagonal for the C wave itself, needing to, and also this smaller degree C wave of the third itself is behaving like a diagonal. So this can continue to chop and grind up towards the 2730s, then is going to need a decent retrace and then a move up towards that 2860. But while gold is doing that into the end of the year, maybe early next year, it does certainly seem like silver has potential to outstrip that by a pretty large margin. It filled out a wider B wave that came into the August low, and that's either counting an expanded flat, which implies that the upside pull is really strong to get this smaller degree corrective wave inside that minor degree B wave to head to a higher high, or you can just count a larger A there. Either way, it points us up towards the 40 region for silver in that same C of the parentheses wave 3 move. It's just running behind, but has kept up mostly with gold, but ready to in terms of all the starts and stops and ups and down moves, they tend to trade in tandem with each other, but by a different magnitude. And I think we're ready to see, the next pullback here technically this can still be an impulsive move off of the August low, where this was the white 1-2. See if I can grab that here. And we're in the third already. But the proportions of the subwaves, and we've talked about how we really like to look closely at fractals and at the smaller degree subwaves, to make sure that there's agreement all along the way. And it really looks like we're filling out 5 waves up here to a 100% extension, which is not what we should expect to see if this is a third wave that's heading up towards the 35-36 region inside our C wave. It looks more like this is this blue ABC for a larger circle wave 1, but making the C wave the same diagonal itself that we were looking at in gold, just a couple of steps behind. But being a couple of steps behind will allow this to catch up and outpace.
So there could be one more bus stop for people that do not have any silver exposure to get on board.
If there is Avi's a little bit more concerned about this alt yellow B wave, and that's where if you count this as the larger A as well, then it's possible that this is setting up for a wider flat instead of this being all of the consolidation. And that is a risk when you have only 3 waves up where
would a wider flat take you back to the lows?
Back towards the 26 region.
Okay.
But my thinking here is that you have ABC up, so you are looking for a pullback. That if that pullback starts off as a sharper 5 wave move down into the 2980 to 2950 region, then you have to worry about a corrective bounce and then getting 3, 4, 5 down for that.
Always something to worry about.
Right, but if it starts off corrective and is going to hold in the 29 region, then if you see a nice clean ABC corrective retrace into the 29 region, that's your gentleman's entry. It might not be the smoothest, cleanest impulse move, because we know that since this is acting like a diagonal, then this third is going to be an ABC that looks like this. We'll make that blue so that we can color code things to match, and that the fourth wave is probably going to be a little bit deeper, even though it doesn't have to overlap with the top of that wave 1. But we're going to get to that target, and we're going to head probably closer to 40, and then after holding that larger fourth, then we can get up into probably close to the 50s for silver. So I like that a lot, and I think miners are going to benefit a lot from that as well. I needed to shift gears. I was looking for us to hold right here and get one more push up off of this August low, and that would have been a new 5 waves up and could have been another 1-2 of something even more strongly bullish. But this is still pretty bullish here, looking for a move up towards 47 to 50 region for the rest of this third wave inside a larger third of a bigger, longer term move. But I think that this is turning into a slightly larger version of the same diagonal. The nice thing here between, so I use color coding a lot. Either way, we're looking for a 5th wave up towards the 47 to 50 region to complete this circle wave 3. So whether this is the 1-2 and we're in the A and the B inside the third of that, or whether we have a larger ABC up for that, a bigger wave 1, which would only push this a little bit further, maybe even closer to 51, 52, if we do fill out that bigger yellow wave 2 off of the recent high, which would fit very much in line with the silver chart. And there are a couple of bigger silver heavy names that do make it into some of the top holdings of GDX. So we can certainly see that. But we also look at things like SILJ,
Yeah.
and that fits, the silver expectations, kind of crosses in between those, where this looks more like an A wave of this third, similar to what we're looking at on GDX, but not quite the further along, but we could get the same. This could be this larger parentheses wave one and get a little bit more retraces wave two. But as long as we're holding, September and August lows in most things in the miners realm, the next
Yeah.
pullback is a certainly a viable one if it's nicely corrected. So like
Great
metals and
looks.
miners a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um,
Are there any silver issues you like, or you don't like to mention names?
no, I mean, some of the usual suspects, wheat and precious
Yeah.
metals, fits
Yeah.
that same structure very, very well. On one hand, there are some things that we like to look at in small quantities that have potential to significantly outperform.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we also like to look for charts that are reliably in agreement with what we see in the indexes and in the metals themselves. And so something like Wheaton with the same ending diagonal structure for the same degree fifth wave of the wave three, gives us a lot more confidence in tracking that in other things because it looks so good there. But stuff like Pan American has different looking structure. There is the risk, a little bit more risk here because we held above 50% for this B wave, that this three wave structure up, even though ideally it's the same wave one that we're looking at in silver of this bigger diagonal for a C wave heading up towards the 35 to 40 region. There is the risk that this is a parentheses yellow B and it's going to fill out a wider flat. If it does pop higher, which it really should pop closer to 23 for fifth wave of that blue C, then there's a better chance that even if it is a yellow parentheses B wave of this wider flat for the yellow, that it holds around the 17 region. But looking for this higher low, as a good opportunity to add and maintaining some exposure currently, as long as it's above 18 region, is not a bad approach. So those are just a
Good.
couple of individual silver names that we really like.
Okay.
Also like
Appreciate it.
copper stuff a lot. Copper with a pretty similar looking setup that it's trying to fill out, ideally getting higher in this ABC up for the bigger wave one. Could also be a leading diagonal for this wave one, but looking for this bigger swing wave move as a C wave of wave three, counting it as a slightly smaller degree, but pretty much the same magnitude move here for that third, looking at FCX as opposed to copper itself. FCX and a couple other names more clearly look like it's just the AB of the wave three. Copper itself got higher in this move relative to FCX and some other things. So technically it can count as all of the three, and this is the four. So less clearly bullish in terms of a bigger swing move, but we like Freeport a lot. We just recently wrote a public article on that. And I like the way that it lines up with somewhat what we see in silver. Also
So
aluminum.
will Russell lead the way as the most spec index in equity? It's a whole theme of
Um,
you know,
I like the Nasdaq more. If you want to
okay.
shift over to equities, I think the Nasdaq had more clarity in terms of a possible setup for a short recently. But now, once it was more very clearly at three waves up to a higher low, I mean, to a lower high
Yeah,
into August. So
right.
had three waves down. So that was a good opportunity to buy this pullback for a move up. It was at least targeting somewhere around the 19,500 resistance region as the minimum target for a corrective ABC up as something bearish, and got an extension of that, but still held at between a 618 and a 764 retrace and had the potential to start something more bearish. This initial move down was only three waves, so that was another opportunity to play for a bounce that, even if it was a corrective bounce, was at least heading back up towards the 19,600 region from Monday's lows, and there are a couple of things that I went long in a bigger way, even though I was leaning more bearish. I was scalping long that bounce in addition to the individual names that we were long in stock waves. And we were holding a three-wave bounce into resistance into the Fed and tried a few times to turn down from that. But that was, I posted on Twitter the other
Yeah.
day
It
that
was a
this
beach
night,
ball. Yeah.
well, just that this 19,800 region was kind of the back against the wall,
Yeah.
like
Right.
last level for anything immediately bearish. And once we crossed over that, that gave us five waves up off of this higher low. So now you have to look for that next extension target. And you can say like,
Okay.
everything's super extended and overdue and the risk skew is terrible. And so that just makes us very, very selective of the things that we like to the long side. But if we're holding the 19,000s as a corrective retrace from
Looking for
here,
23, right?
yeah, 23,000 seems pretty doable.
Okay, now
And
that would complete wave three. How deep would a correction be should this wave count play out from three?
so from the keep in mind this is the futures for the Nasdaq. When you look at it on the QQQs or the Nasdaq cash,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a difference there. My continuous back adjusted forces this low from 2008 to a lower low, but in the cash and in QQQs, that's a higher low that counts as the cycle wave one and wave two in that low off of the 2002 low. So proportionately, the cycle degree wave four, normal support, I have to move this up from the back adjustment, normal fib support should probably put it in the region of the 2022 to maybe crossing into some of this correction from the COVID crash.
Oh,
So
good.
that would
Okay.
be
That's
the most
huge.
normal support for that degree fourth wave.
So things become quite vulnerable after reaching targets here.
Right. And
And
because of that risk skew, I'm not, I'm not pedal to the metal with my entire portfolio to trade chase this next move higher. But there are some things that we do like a lot. We're very, very bullish on Tesla. Where's my is
you
that?
like
Yeah,
natural
here.
gas stocks? I think you liked them last time we talked. You
I like
liked
inner
oil.
I like oil
Anything?
and energy. I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of the natural gas chart itself, although
Why?
RRC and Swan and AR are all great looking stocks,
Yeah.
as far as some of those individual natural gas names. But Tesla, I think has potential to definitely, be a bastion of safety, if the Nas, it should perform really well with the Nasdaq on this next swing up. And for that, targeting 353 to 414 region for the rest of the C wave, and then it'll get a consolidation from that. But then I think that on the bounce, the next bounce from that consolidation, Tesla starts to outperform, and then the Nasdaq could start to roll over, and Tesla, gets all of the cash and runs pretty
Interesting.
hard towards 1,000 to even 1,400 would be great. Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
Uh,
we like energy stocks a lot.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. So great to talk to you during the melt up, and we'll be talking to you, I believe, post melt up in December. Right, Zach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, that
It's
sounds
going to
good.
be a different world by the time we talk again
Well,
on many levels, don't you think?
I do. I even have a note on my Nasdaq. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, I have to go to the continuous chart.
What?
That it just so happens that the timing
Yeah.
for the rest of the C wave can put us right into early November.
Yeah. Held
Um,
everything together right until after the election.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Classic. It was so obvious I didn't believe it, but it certainly, my sister was right. I said that, everyone was, oh, I'll be okay. I'll get out, either right before or after the election. I go, it can't be that pat.
I mean, there are, I joke. I
It
mean,
was.
initially I was joking about it, but like when everyone talks about beans, bullets, and beer and bullion and stuff in a
Yeah,
bunker when things turn bad, but some of those charts are actually looking really, really favorable right now.
yeah,
Not just
yeah,
on like the 6 hour. This is Bud for Anheuser-Busch. Really nice 1-2-1-2 setup.
yeah,
And another working on another smaller degree wave one and wave two now off the more recent July low. So definitely good potential for this to head from the 60s into the 80s to 90 region over the next year or so. Um, Beans are also trying to form a pretty nice bottom for a possible cycle degree wave
yeah.
five
I
up.
like the wheat too. I like all the grains here.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
this I'm talking about Hormel like canned beans.
Okay. Well, all right.
um,
I'm talking soybeans, but
and and Smith
yeah.
and Wesson also in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
trying to put in a large degree
Look at you.
bottom for bullish count. So
It's a
you got
prepper
gold.
portfolio. Prepper
Exactly.
portfolio. You ought to put
Um,
that together. People would love that.
we I think we wrote one article on it,
Yeah.
and are working on a couple others, but and cigarettes too. Cigarettes have some nice bullish potential as well.
Yeah. Everyone's
Would
going to
like to
be
see
nervous. Yeah.
more of this pullback for a wave two into the mid 40s would be great. Could be
Yeah.
pretty close to done with this A wave already. So due for a nice little bounce, and then more consolidation would make that more reliable. But
Okay.
anywhere in the 48 to 44 region, I think is a great opportunity to jump on some Mo.
You did it again, Zach.
Thank you, Dale.
So a bunch of great looks. I hope that people hung out and watch a video. Some excellent counts to consider. Best way for people to follow you, Zach, and read your work, keep up with you.
So I post a good amount of stuff on Twitter when I have time during the day, but most of my days I'm at ElliottWaveTrader.net in either the stock waves or the metals mining and agriculture service.
I have to say that they have a very strong team, and it takes a strong team to recognize one. So really appreciate you coming here and sharing your hard work, Zach. I know you put hours into this. Uh, it's not something that you have a program and it pops up all these things that you're a thinker.
Thank you very
So
much, Dale.
yeah, so follow Zach on X at Zach Manis and go check out their stuff and be prepped. You know, after the election, be ready,
All
Zach.
right. Have
When
a
will we
great rest
know
of your
that?
day.
When will we know
Oh,
we have a president? How many weeks after the election?
there's some great YouTube videos talking about speculating on a lot of stuff like that. I'm not really sure. I'm an expert to talk on
All
election
right,
results.
all right, yeah, yeah. So anyway, it's going to
It's going to be
be
exciting.
okay. Zach likes it. It's exciting. I would prefer no drama, but forget that in this world. So
Exactly.
yeah. All right, buddy. My trading warrior brother, Zach Manis, check him out. He's a pro and works hard at his craft.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
buddy.
Dale. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right. And everyone else, have a great weekend. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Recharge over the weekend. I know I will. And you're very welcome. Don't forget to sign up. Get in that community because face is over now. You could be rolling right into the room. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.